Good morning, welcome all of you, Vande Mataram. So, on this morning, we are going to discuss a topic that is almost one most required topic, that is slay the ego. The topic will be discussed right now is on will be on ego. So, the caption, the topic of discussion will be on slay the ego, as Sri Aurobindo indicates, because ego has no place, absolutely no place in the heart. Actually, it is consecrated to the divine. People who are pursuing this integral yogic process must be aware. They must get rid of the ego. That is the initial and the precondition. That's what is required. So get rid of the ego. That is the prime. That is the first condition so far this integral yoga is concerned. So now we are going to discuss in brief, of course, in a quarter an hour discussion on ego. So it must be slain. So that full message from Sri Aurobindo, that line I want to quote it for you. Slay the ego, learn to see and feel vastly and universally. So the condition is that slay the ego and learn to see and feel vastly and universally. This message indicates we are not learning to see and feel vastly and universally, because our scope is very much limited. Instead of being vast, it is very narrow, and instead of being universal, it is almost confined. It is very much limited. So after, because of this presence of ego, we are almost confined. We are almost saturated. We are pinpointed. We are stipulated. So thing is that if this ego is slain, then the criteria how we will know, and the condition first you have to slay the ego, then learn to see and feel vastly and universally, because we are not vast and we are not universal because of this presence of ego. Once this is slain, things will be felt and seen vastly and universally. So initially we'll try to go from a couple of messages from, of course, from the mother. Initial sentence mother actually differentiates between the egocentric situation and compares it with the soul or psychic situation. In the preliminary condition, in the first condition, the ego thinks that what it wants and has not. The ego thinks of what it wants and has not. That's what the ego thinks. This is the constant preoccupation. Almost everybody is preoccupied with the thing, with as the methodically, what actually how the ego thinks and feels, thinks of what it wants or has not. This is the constant preoccupation. Again, people who are actually following this track, almost staying in the psychic provision, psychic condition, the soul is aware of what is given and lives in the endless gratitude. Whatever is reaching, whatever it has got, however they are leading the life, however they are living in, of course, in the psychic presence. That's why they feel endless gratitude to the divine, because they feel everything that has been given, what is done, what is there, and the divine and the divine presence, everything is there. So they express gratitude. But the soul, it is confined, preoccupied. Again, Mother quotes, all that happens is to teach us one and the same lesson. All that happens from near to far, from beginning to the end, right now, whatever and whichever, all that happens is to teach us one and the same lesson. What is that lesson? Unless we get rid of our ego, there is no peace. Unless we get rid of ego, there is no peace for ourselves or for others. So naturally, ourself and we other self, this peace and magnanimity, equanimity, everything is correlated. Everything actually it is synchronized. So unless we are getting rid of the ego, there is no peace for ourselves nor for others. Without ego, life becomes such a wonderful marvel. With the ego, life is a painful illusion. There is no wonder, there is nothing to be marvelous, no marvel, no wonder. But actually, without ego, life becomes a wonderful marvel. That is what been quoted by Mother. Now we are going to read little bit, of course, from the Mother again. What Mother said. The whole universe moves in according to our ego. The whole universe moves in accordance with our ego because we are pointing, we are of course pinpointing, and we are staying within our attitude and our outlook. So you are at the center, the universe turns around it. That's what the situation, the criteria you have been created wholly by you. And if you look at yourself alternatively, you will see like your vision at the universe. Because we are confined, if we live, being slaying the ego, we are living a little bit, we are seeing and feeling the things universally and vastly, then vision will is of the universe. That's what you are the center, and the universe is all around you. That is what the perception it will come. So there is no place for anything else. There is no place for anything as long as we are confined to the egocentric attitude and the thoughts and feelings. It is not the universe you see yourself. Yeah, it is yourself you see in the universe. Like a mirror reflection. Again, at first, to begin with, one must be able to get out of the ego. Same thing, to get out of the ego, to get rid of the ego. Afterwards, it has to be you understand in a center of state of existence. Unless otherwise, we are getting freed from the ego, from the clutches of ego, and it is very difficult to visualize and know ourselves. Then you begin to perceive things as they are from the little higher, from a little higher up. From there itself, you go all that situation is you become vast and universal. A little bit from a higher zenith or something higher point you see. But if you want to know things that they are really are, then absolutely like a mirror. Already that's what we are putting everything like a mirror, silent, peaceful, immobile, impartial, without preferences, like the mirror. Mirror, the quality of the mirror is like it is silent, peaceful, immobile, impartial, without preferences. And it shows you your own shape and reality it shows. In the state of total receptivity, that is what the characteristic of the mirror. And if we are slaying the ego, we are getting feeling and knowing ourselves universally and vastly, and moving little bit ahead, then like become a mirror, and like with the characteristic and with the correct qualities of the mirror, we see and all everything comes silent, peaceful, immobile, impartial, without the preferences. Again, and of course this is the total receptivity comes. And if you are like that, you will begin to see there are many things that you are not aware of, because this ego, for this ego we are staying almost narrow. After some time, when we find and becoming mirror, observing everything, receiving everything, then what happens? Then you are not aware of many things are there in the world or around you that you are not aware of, but which is there, it really exists, and becoming active in you. That is what the two things happens. Then you will be able to be in these things instead of being exclusively enclosed within, because this narrow confines of the ego limits, we are getting confined. Our vision, our range is actually being very much limited. Once this is gone, exclusively enclosed within, that is the criteria with the presence of the ego. And once this is gone, little point you are in the universe, and instead of being exclusively closed in the point where you are in the universe, you become the vast and the universal things spread. This idea actually spreads in you. These are all kinds of ways to get out of yourself. Get out of yourself, these are the all kinds of ways, but it is indispensable if you want to begin to know things as they are and in terms of yourself. So it is indispensable, if you want to begin to know the things how they are, and not in yourself, because these fundamentalities it will come after you are getting out of the ego, getting crossing the limits of ego. Now itself we will quote few lines from, of course, Sri Aurobindo here. Ego is the perverse reflection of the psychic or jivatma. Straight away, steer the course. Ego is the perverse reflection of the psychic or jivatma. So perverse reflection. Initially, we have already when we were trying to read and quote Mother that the mirror reflection. With these terms, we have been acquainted. We have been familiar. Again, Mother quotes here in the quotes, of course, our ego and its will are the creations and puppets of the cosmic forces. Nothing to the divine. Our ego, it is the perverse reflection of the psychic or Jivatma. It is the ego and its will are creations and puppets of the cosmic forces largely. Again, not here in the course, initially it has got its need because when we are putting a roof for the building, so you prepare a false roof, of course. That is what this false after this without this false roof, actually true roof cannot be constructed. So it has got its need, but it is not permanent. After this building, this roof is finally prepared. It has been created. This false roof has to be broken down. That is what the criteria. So, like this ego, it has got its use initial phase, and it is not all. Although the ego claims the world for its own use, it claims it has got its universality. It claims egoistic attitude. But man is a dynamo in the cosmic work, of course, that we know. Very limited, luminous, not that much, very dim or dimly illumined. Nature does most in him, God the highest. Almost maximum things are being accomplished by the nature, of course, the higher nature, and the God the highest. What can be accomplished by the higher nature, that must be completed by the God. So what really we have to do, the one thing we can do is the soul's acceptance is its own. Is the only for us, for all, it is given the preference. The maximum efficacy that we can do is to accept our soul. Here in the course, ego was the helper. Initially, ego was the helper, but at present, if you cross the limit, if you have gone to a higher consciousness, then ego is the, of course, the bar. It is the egoism is in it is if the egoism in nature is violent and obstinate. Most of the times, it is becomes violent, obstinate. It never wants to leave you all out. Then, if the egoism, it is never ready to get rid of you. So, if it is this violent and obstinate, then how you have to meet with here in the course? It has to be met sometimes by an answering strong internal depression and counterbalancing violence. As you sow, so you reap. So, naturally, if the ego is violent and obstinate, then sometimes you have to answer with the internal repression and the counterbalancing violence. That is what they required to answer it. Again, slay the ego and learn to see and feel vastly and universally. As long as already this was the topic of discussion, we have little bit touched it initially. Unless otherwise we are slaying the ego must be slain, then we can see and feel vastly and universally. This narrowness, this confines, this limited all the limitations will be around us. Ego exists by its limits. Ego has its limits. It exists within that limits. Once this and perishes with by the loss of limits. Once this limit is slain, it is then actually this ego perishes. Delusion of egolessness. That the illusion and the delusion. The illusion of the egolessness. That's what many times we get deluded and we feel that we are egolessness. The illusion of egolessness are often covers an exaggerated ego. Ego can always hide even behind the aspiration to serve the divine. That's what for that we have come to serve the divine. The aspiration to be served, to serve the divine. That is what the objective. That is what the preference for which it is coming. But sometimes ego bars, ego hides. The egoism of the instrument, we feel we are the instrument, but there is egoism. Once this is developed in the ego is in the instrument, can be dangerous or even more dangerous for the spiritual progress. So, and then the egoism of the doer. Instrument, we have to know what is ego, and that must be said. Boast not of thy riches, neither seek men's praise for the poverty or self-denial. That is what the required. Some egoists are hard-skinned and not sensitive, others are hypersensitive.